NBA player props here on PrizePicks for Thursday, June 22nd. Before I get started, link in the description below. 100% deposit match by using the link or promo code TUFF on PrizePicks. Discord link in the description. The main server is currently completely free. We also have the Patreon link in there as well, where I do post all the plays here that I'm making on PrizePicks for each given sport that I do play. Again, I'm not a gambling expert, and this is not financial advice. Simply just plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully give you guys some insight and analysis to then make your own player prop decisions here. But let's get into it, you guys. 2 WNBA plays. I'm not doing MLB today just because we have a ton of MLB morning games, and there's just not a ton of games on today for MLB. So I got 2 WNBA games. We got the 3 games here on this slate. We got Connecticut, Minnesota, Washington versus Chicago, and Indiana versus Seattle. And all these games have some pretty decent spreads here, in my opinion. I got 2 plays that I'm targeting, 1 first half play and 1 full game NBA play. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So the first one I'm targeting is going to be a WNBA first half prop. It's going to be a PRA. And it's going to be Alyssa Thomas over 17.5 PRA. We take a look at quickly just her last 5 for Alyssa Thomas. She's gone over this in 2 of her last 2 games and 2 of her last 5, but you can see her 2 misses coming against Atlanta, where she had 17 and 17 PRA, but has had back-to-back games with 25 and 20 PRA. So if you're just like a last 5 type of PrizePicks guy, not really gonna like this one. But let's get into why I like it. So taking a quick look at this matchup, there is no Brianna Jones for the Connecticut Sun. She hurt her leg, I believe, lower leg. It looked like she was in some serious pain. She might be out for a while, so she is not going to be playing in this game, which should just increase Alyssa Thomas's workload even more than it already is. I mean, she already is playing like almost every single minute in the game. She's played 40 plus minutes in 3 straight games. But if you take a look at Brianna Jones, I mean, she plays the second most minutes on the team. So Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Jones is a very high usage player on this offense. She's a 15, 9, and 2 player for the Connecticut Sun. So this would be like the equivalent of, like, I would say maybe Kevin Durant without Devin Booker, or I mean, just, you're talking about probably the most versatile player in the WNBA missing its second best player. So, I mean, maybe like a Luka or Jokic without Jamal Murray, a Luka without Kyrie, whatever it may be. But for Alyssa Thomas, the floor for this play is very high. She's gone over this 2 or last 2, like I said, and 2 misses coming at 17. So we take away, Brianna Jones and all that usage and all those touches. I think Alyssa Thomas should be a little bit more aggressive offensively, and it's a great matchup, right? The Minnesota Lynx to forwards this season, giving up the second most points to forwards at 45 points per game, the most assists to forwards at 11.6 assists, and then again the 5th most rebounds to forwards with 18. They also pretty much have one of the worst defensive ratings in the WNBA. Minnesota Lynx the 4th worst at 103.2. And we already saw Alyssa Thomas this season face Minnesota. We don't have a PRA game log for the first half, but versus Minnesota this season, she did have 16, 9, and 16, 8 for 15 from the field, and that was with Brianna Jones on the floor. She finished with 51.8 fantasy points in 40 minutes at Minnesota. So should be a great spot for Alyssa Thomas. Obviously, I mean, literally has had 17 PRA in 4 straight games. Just banking she can get us 1 more PRA here, a little bit more aggressively without Brianna Jones. I like this spot for Alyssa Thomas a lot. And we take a look at the odds. I mean, the only thing we know, Alyssa Thomas is going to get those peripheral stats. I think she's good for like maybe 10, maybe even 11 RA in the first half. So we're really looking for her to become a scorer. And we take a look at Alyssa Thomas here for the full game. She's at minus 130 on FanDuel to go over 15.5 points. And in her most recent games, I mean, she's had 15, 15, 16, and 16 in her last 4 games versus Minnesota dating back to last season, and has a 60% hit rate over her last 5. So I like Alyssa Thomas to go over 17.5 PRA in the first half here tonight. And then the second play that I'm targeting is going to be a full game fantasy score, and it's going to be another just a superstar player, an elite player in this league. It's going to be Jewel Lloyd over 36.5 PRA against the Indiana Fever. So taking a look at Jewel Lloyd, she's played really well her last 2 games, 47.5, 46.4 fantasy over her last 2 games, has really been aggressive offensively, and it's really turned out into some good games for her. So taking a look at why I like this play here, taking a look at Jewel Lloyd, just some odds for her. She's at over 24.5 points, minus 122, over 3.5 assists, minus 128. Over 3.5 rebounds, minus 145 here. So some good odds for us. Specifically on the points, right? I mean, Jewel Lloyd, it's not like she's not like a shot blocker or a defensive menace. So we need her to score 25 plus points in this matchup, coming off games of 39 and 33 points in her last 2 matchups. But I really just like the matchup here for Jewel Lloyd against Indiana. So taking a quick look, Indiana, the 2nd worst defensive rating in the WNBA. And if we take this and we move it to on the road, it should just probably stay the same. Indiana this season on the road, if this does load, has the worst defensive rating in the WNBA, and this is a road game for Indiana playing at Seattle. We take a look at Jewel Lloyd, right, on her full game log this season. I mean, this has a pretty decent hit rate. All we need is 36.6 fantasy, and she's gone over this already in 6 games. And if we take a look at kind of how her season has gone, like I said, gone over this in back-to-back games, and has had this tough little run here, but against some tough matchups, Washington, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. Honestly, the tougher teams in the WNBA to score on. But what I also like here about this matchup against Indiana, right? So Indiana has, again, the worst defensive rating in the WNBA on the road, but as far as allowing points in the paint, they allow the 4th fewest points in the paint. So we know that Indiana is, with Aaliyah Boston and Alyssa Smith, has defensive anchors down there, which allows guards to operate a little bit easier because they can't really score in the paint. So I think Ezi Megbegor in the paint presence for Seattle might have a tough time, which should allow Jewel Lloyd to cook. But like I said, you can see the hit rate for Jewel Lloyd. Earlier in the season, she had gone over this in 4 of her first 5 games, right? Had only missed coming versus New York Liberty, and then had a tough little run here, but has bounced back now in back-to-back games. 36.5 is too low in my opinion. We saw this up. This line was at 39.5 at one point this season. And then specifically against guards, right? The Indiana Fever gave up the 2nd most points to the guard position in the WNBA behind the Seattle Storm. Right, 54.9 points per game, two guards in the WNBA. And then we also take a look at Indiana's some of their recent games. I mean, they just play the Chicago Sky, and take a look at this, right? Chicago Sky, they faced the Chicago Sky, and in that game, or they faced Atlanta. Let's just take a look at this game real quick. I don't have the fantasy scores here, but we take a look at Atlanta. I mean, Ryan Howard had 21 and 6 and 1 and 1. I mean, she's not the player Jewel Lloyd is, but she still went off for 21, and Alicia Gray went off for 25, 3 and 2. Okay, so we saw guards play really, really well against Indiana, and then we also take a look at this other game here. If we go back one more time versus the Chicago Sky at Chicago, right? We saw Marina Mabry finish with 36, 6 and 2. Now, Marina Mabry in that game, right, we have Jewel Lloyd here for over 36.5 points. Debatably the best guard in the WNBA, the best scoring guard in the WNBA. All we need is 36.6. We just saw Marina Mabry literally have 42.2 against Indiana. Marina Mabry. So just take that in, guys. I think it's a great spot for Jewel Lloyd. Their odds are in our favor as well. So here are the 2 player props here for the WNBA slate today. We got Alyssa Thomas over 17.5 PRA in the first half, and Jewel Lloyd over 36.5 fantasy score for the full game. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these 2 plays. Drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.